Welcome to Perfect Imperfections. I am your host, Kalia Bell. On this platform, we have conversations where we educate, inspire, and encourage you to find peace, live in peace, and walk in your purpose so that you can live the life that God has designed for you. So, thank you for being here. I know that you're going to love this episode. So, let's just get this out the way. Go ahead and just like it now. Make sure that you comment, engage in this conversation. Subscribe to this channel because we are going to live with peace and walk in purpose. And we're not going to do this alone. We're going to do this together because we are going to win. So thank you for being here. Before we start this conversation, I just want to say, as I stated, that this platform is so that we can walk in our purpose. So anything that you hear today is based on our experience, our knowledge, our expertise, and what God has told us. But I want you to take this conversation and take it to the Lord in prayer. So anything that you hear and receive at the end of this episode, make sure that you go to God in prayer and ask God, what is it that He is saying to you? How does He want you to walk? And what do you need to do for you, your family, and your life? Okay. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to yet another MMU All Star that is joining me on this wonderful conversation today. We're going to have a conversation about life after infidelity. And I am joined today by my sister, Miss Brianna Webster, the, the expert affair recovery coach. Good morning, Brianna. Thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am extremely excited. I am so excited. When I first heard about her brand, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and her brand, I said, we need this. We need
Mhm.
this. We need this specifically for our community, specifically for our families. We need this. So, Brianna, tell us about your brand, Life After Infidelity.
My name is Brianna. I am an affair recovery coach, and I coach women who have been cheated on. I help them remove the shame of their decisions to leave or stay. Because whether you leave or stay, both decisions will be hard. And so I just love to walk alongside women to help them navigate whatever hard that is, right? If they choose to stay in their relationship after infidelity, I help them determine if their candidate is a good candidate to rebuild trust with, or, if they're going to have to do the hard and do it alone, then I help them start that healing phase of how to navigate their new normal. So that's really what it's about. I have a podcast called Life After Infidelity. I just wrote my first devotional, which I'm super excited about, called Healing the Heart from Infidelity. And it's just all about empowering people not to be ashamed of their experience. So many people have experienced infidelity in their relationships, but I think the shame that society puts on it causes people to mask it and hide. And I am wanting to break that narrative. And so that's really what life after infidelity is about.
I love that. And I say I love that a lot on my platform. But I really honestly love it because you're coming from a space of you're giving the woman the power to make a decision. And
Yeah.
I know that when it comes to infidelity, you may have two different sides of the coin. You may have a
Hmm.
woman who have people saying you better leave. And then you
Hmm.
may have women that have people saying you gotta stay. So I like
Hmm.
that you are offering a platform and a space where you are giving the power to the woman to decide what is it that they wanted, what's best for them. I
Yeah.
also like the fact that with with that power, and I want to say before we even really kind of continue that when it comes to relationships and infidelity, I know that these are topics that are like hot click topics and
Hmm.
quick to go viral topics, but we are really going to create a safe space for you ladies today. And if any
Yeah.
men are listening, then tap in, but we are really going to create a safe space where we're not going to just talk about or throw things out for viral clicks, or we want to actually impact and we want to help you because as
Yeah.
Brianna stated, this is difficult. This is a
Hmm.
really, when you really think about infidelity can kill families, it can
Hmm.
kill individuals, and I mean that literally and figuratively. So I think it's a very sensitive conversation to have. So
Yeah.
Brianna, I want to kind of find out what started you on this mission.
Yeah. So, a lot of times when you start something that you're super passionate about, it's been your experience, right? Like your personal experience. And so that's what happened. I was cheated on in my marriage. I often use the term serial cheater, and I say that because the first time that I found out my now ex-husband was cheating on me, I had to make myself stop after woman 6. Like I could keep going through his laptop, but I had to make myself stop after woman 6 because like I was just so sick to my stomach. And then like I went to stay with friends when I first found out for like 3 days, came back home, I found out about 4 other women, right? And then for the next 5 years, like clockwork, every 6 months, I would find out about another woman. And, that's why I'm so passionate too about the saying that I have, removing the shame of your decision to leave or stay, because I didn't initially leave at first,
Yeah.
right? Like I stayed for 5 whole years knowing that my partner was still cheating on me, but hoping that, he would turn it around and want to change for the sake of me, right? And so really what started it though was I made a post, and I always tell people because I think it's interesting. The first post that I ever made, I was on Instagram, I only had 70 followers.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what I was doing. And so when I made the post, like 15 minutes later, girl, the post was already at like 1,500 views.
Wow.
And I was like, oh crap. So it's a lot of people out here hurting, right? Like
Right.
and so that's what kind of made me start to be like, you know what? I am going to create a space for women who are not ashamed. And because oddly enough, there were a lot of women in my DMs who, if you look at their social media pages, their marriages look right. They have this
Perfect.
perception of
Yeah.
happiness, but they're in my DMs talking about, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing this. I'm experiencing this now. And so that's kind of how it started from my personal experience and just seeing that so many people are hurting in their relationships and they need a, like you said, a safe space to navigate that.
Well, again, thank you for doing that. And I know that, God gives us gifts,
Hmm.
and, we don't realize the blessing when we're going through the storm. And it would have been so easy for you to take that pain and take that hurt and just, you know, d- did away with it. But what you
Yeah.
did was you took it and you said, like, how can I help others? How can I be a comfort to others and use my pain to help other women that have that same kind of shame. So thank you for that, because I
Yeah.
know that's not easy.
No, and it's so funny. I don't even know why I'm tearing up. I think because we talked about meditating or whatever, and just like being super open. And I guess I'll be obedient to the Holy Spirit and share this because of what you said. Like before I left my ex husband for good, I would have this dream, girl, and I had this dream so many times to where um it was like watching a movie because I
Hmm.
knew what was going to happen in the dream. Like
Hmm.
every time the dream, I had it so often that I knew what was going to happen. And I remember there's this point in the dream, every time I have the dream, I always wake up at the same exact point, right? And it was so crazy since I went to work and I was telling one of my older coworkers, I was like, I keep having this dream so much so that it's like I'm watching a movie at this point. Like I'm not even trying to wake up because I already know what's gonna happen. And in the dream, like I'm trapped in this house and somehow I get released from the chains and like and there's a lot of people with me that were trapped in the house too, and we're running through
Wow.
the woods, right? We're like running through the woods. And then whoever had us trapped, he realizes that he that we're loose, right? And so once he realizes that, he gets his dogs and he has his dogs to chase after us. And we get to this large body of water. And we're looking at each other like, how are we going to cross this large body of water? And till this day, I still never know how we cross the body of water. But when we get to the body of water, we're like, where do we go for a safe space, right? Because he was a very prominent man in the city. And we were like, if we tell anybody that we just escaped him, they might let him know, for hopes of getting money or whatever. And so we find this house and the people hide us there. and there's a man and his wife, and, they it's basically it's like slavery, right? Because they
Mhm.
take us
That's
to
what I was
this.
hearing as you were
Yeah, yeah, they
speaking.
take us, it's like
Exactly.
slavery, I'm running away, and so it's basically like the Underground Railroad where they take us, to this hole in their house, and they say, "Once you go down the hole," um and I'm emotional about it because I've only ever talked about it once, like, now that I've gotten the revelation, and, so he's like, "Once you go down the hole, um, you'll be free." And
Mm,
so everybody that escaped the house has jumped down the hole. And then I'm the last one. And the father says, "Hey, will you take my daughter with you?"
mm,
And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And right when I get ready to jump in the hole, I wake up every single time. And that was the part of the dream because I already knew the other parts were like me leaving my husband, right? I knew that him holding me back and blah, 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 and like me just running for my life, fighting. But this, I was like, God, what does this mean? What does this
mm,
mean? What does this mean? Why do I keep waking up at this point? And why does this man want his daughter to come with me? And girl, probably about 6 months ago, because this has been years in the making. And it was literally about 6 months ago where God told me, He was like, that man knew that you could help his daughter because his daughter was going through what you just came out of.
mm.
And that just like really touched me because it lets me know, like you said, I think just everything that you're saying is so powerful because it's like people always tell me, Brie, you should do this, it'll get you more views. And I'm like, I'm not here for the views. I'm
Right.
here to truly help women who are broken and who are hurt to get out of this toxic state of believing that if you stay in a marriage where you're loving this person and the harder that you love them that they'll eventually see you and want to love you. I'm trying to let them know that it doesn't work like
Work
that,
like that.
right?
Right.
And so I love that because that's the work that I'm passionate about is letting women see like, and so I say to say when I got that revelation that God was just crying like a baby because um the work that I'm doing, like, it's a gift and it's a blessing, and
It is a
I'm
gift.
thankful. I'm thankful for the load that God has given me for that.
And I know when going through it, you were not
Oh,
I know.
no. I was mad, like, "God, you couldn't have showed me another way to get to this
Right.
purpose?"
Right. Listen. Listen, but we know that all things work together for God's
Mhm.
good. So I
Yes.
know, not knowing you during that time, but just imagining as a woman going through that, that you did not see this. I can imagine like this was like where you are today with telling this story. When going through it, I'm pretty sure you were not like, oh, I can't wait to get out and tell people how to how to go through this and or like even having, I know that like you said, which I don't want to say is it's not weird, but I've
Mhm.
always um not strange. I want to make sure that I use the right word.
Mhm.
But because infidelity is it's so normalized,
Yeah.
it is painful that women feel ashamed,
Mhm.
like because again, not that it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. I want to make sure that I'm getting my ideas and my thoughts out. What I'm saying is, I wish that women wasn't so. I wish that it wasn't such a shameful thing,
Yeah.
because it's not, again, not that it's okay, but
Mhm.
it happens,
It
and
happens.
it happens to the. I mean, what
Yeah.
a joke that I say, and it's not a joke, but one thing that I said is if Beyonce got cheated
Holly Berry.
on, Halle Berry, like so it happens, but and again, I know that this is a sensitive conversation, and though we joke and make light of it, I do know that it's extremely heavy.
Yeah.
I know that it is extremely heavy, but I was just wanting to make a point of stating that a different way to look at it. Like, you're not, if this is your story, you're not the only one in this book. That's
At
basically what I'm trying to
all.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, and um, The shame comes from internalizing it, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of us internalize, oh crap, well it's something wrong with me. I
Yes.
couldn't keep my husband's or my
Yes.
partner's attention. He strayed away from me. What is it? And that's why a lot of women when this happens, right? A lot of their go-to questions are, "Well, what does she look like? How many times did
Yes.
y'all do it? What
Yeah.
was the act look like? Was the sex better than ours?"
Yeah.
Because we're physically internalizing, there has to be something wrong with me
Yeah.
physically to make you go out to do that, right? And so, I love to say too, like, those are the worst questions to ask, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
get into that later, but, we do. I think that's why a lot of people are shamed about it because even like I say it all the time. Like if Beyonce and Halle Berry can get cheated on, like it doesn't have anything to do with looks, right?
Nothing.
But even Beyonce is ashamed about it because they didn't talk about it. She
Mhm.
made a couple of lyrics about it in songs, but she still hasn't taken her power back to me in a sense of where she can come out on an interview and say, "Yeah, I've experienced infidelity and we decided to work through it and our marriage is stronger than ever." Like that to me is so empowering to be able to say, "This is my lot in life. This is part of my story and
Yeah.
this is how I'm choosing to navigate moving forward."
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. You touched on something really quickly of the questions, and I didn't even think of that.
Mhm.
So I honestly did not even when as I was preparing for this conversation, I never even thought of how does a woman approach it. Like
Yeah.
that never came up, and that is such. Now I'm intrigued. Now I want
Uh-huh.
to know. So how would a woman approach if, or what would you suggest if, in terms of like the good questions versus bad questions to kind of help them get their piece?
So I'm trying to find my document. So what I call them are investigative questions, right? And so, like I said, instead of asking things like, how many times have y'all done it? What's her name? What does she like? Because those questions, what do those questions do
It's
to help move the
surface.
needle forward?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a
What what
surface.
what do
Yeah.
what do they serve? Especially if you're in this murkiness of not knowing what you want to do. Because so the first step that I always tell people is never make a decision. Like people always think that that's crazy, because people always ask me, well, what's the first step that a woman should do or a person, period, when they've experienced infidelity? And I'm like, you might think I'm crazy, but don't do anything because the worst thing you can do is make a serious decision at the peak of your vulnerability.
Mhm.
Right? You're so hurt, right? You're so hurt. And at this point, just hearing a person say, I'm sorry, is what you truly desire. And so you'll take that sorry to mean that this person is going to change. And that's not really what that means. And even when people say, I'm sorry, I always ask my clients, well, what was he sorry for? Because if you haven't truly shared with your partner how this behavior has impacted you to where they can truly understand, then how can they really give you an authentic apology?
Yeah.
And so I always tell my clients, you need to first have that conversation with your before you accept any apology because you want to know what they're apologizing for. You need to be able to tell them, "Hey, this is how your act of infidelity has impacted me moving forward." And then you allow them to apologize specifically to how their actions have hurt you. Especially when we talk about narcissists as a lot of narcissists will say, "Hey, I'm sorry for hurting you," or they'll just say, "I'm sorry." And a lot of times it's they're sorry for hurting you in the sense of you found out,
Right.
but they're not sorry for their behavior and they're going to
Right.
continue this behavior. And so we have to learn how to navigate that. And so, sorry, I got off on a tangent, but investigative questions. So,
Good
like,
tangent. Good tangent.
so here are some of the questions that I'm just going to give you a few. Like I have a whole worksheet and I have clients like pick out about 3 to 4 questions that they would like to navigate. But some are, what were the factors or circumstances that led to you to engage in the affair? What needs or desires did the affair fulfill that you felt were missing in our relationship? How did you rationalize or justify your actions at the time? And so
Hmm,
these type of questions,
that's a
right,
good
are
question.
going to help you decide if you want to leave or stay because of how they respond to those
Yeah.
questions. It's going to let you know, A, is this something that I can actually fulfill for this person? B, is is he aware of his responses and does he want to change those? You know what I'm saying? So it allows you to understand. And that is why so many people are staying stuck in shame and in confusion because they're not navigating this the correct way.
Mhm, mhm. I agree. I definitely agree with that. Not knowing how to handle it or care for it
Mhm.
or deal with it. First of all, I love your questions. And I think
Thank
that
you.
those are questions that, even if you were to kind of change them and take out the infidelity, I think those are questions that should be asked in relationships. I've
Yeah.
been with my husband for 21 years. We've been married for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't within the last 5 years of us, having living in Maryland. So it's just pretty much really just us now, navigating our relationship and learning so much. It was so many conversations we never had in
Yeah.
the 20-year relationship. It was certain conversations that we've never had in terms of expectations. What is it that you need? What is it that I need? So I love that in those questions that you are finding out the needs of your partner.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after a traumatic experience. However, that's still finding out the needs of your partner. And those are
Hmm.
conversations that a lot of people don't have at all in their
Yeah.
relationship, which can sometimes cause infidelity. And not,
Hmm.
not pointing a finger on who's at fault,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
I think that having a base conversation of the needs, because I know for me, speaking from experience, I went into a marriage with an assumption that I knew because I was with you for so long and I
Yep.
knew your needs and I knew this. So I just assumed. But again, like learning later on, like I had, like I didn't really know, and
It's
vice
completely
versa.
different from marriage to relationship. It's crazy.
Completely different. Completely different. Now I know that there's really infidelity is a choice. I do believe that that is a choice that someone makes, that they choose to make that choice, regardless of
Mhm.
whatever is going on in a relationship. But I do believe that as parents, and I'm not blaming parents, but I do
Yeah.
believe as parents that we can set examples. Because
Mhm.
when I think about, like specifically with my mom, she let us know early on, if you introduced us to one person, if you introduced me to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, then that's your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Like that, you're not bringing anybody else around. So like I was brought up in that this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So one one person, we're not doing the multiple people. So I already kind of had that idea. And again, I know that you can't really necessarily prevent infidelity or anything like that. But what are some tools that you put in place, or you have conversations with your women, to kind of help them, if they've already experienced it, what are some tools that they can put in place in their marriage to kind of help it not happen again? But again, I know that it's not their power, but do you provide them with any tools to help their marriage grow, strengthen it, and things like that? Is there anything that you help them put in place for that?
Um, yeah. And I'm laughing because I'm like, okay, it probably won't be a traditional answer, response, or whatever. The biggest tool that I give my women is learning how to trust themselves. A lot of the times what you will see is there's always a root or an underlying factor that leads to women allowing this type of behavior, right? And so it always stems back from some type of unhealthy attachment style or a trauma that has happened within their childhood. Maybe their father wasn't present or their mother wasn't present. And so subconsciously, that has been what has controlled their life even through adulthood, right? And so once we touch base on that, and then they truly understand who they are within themselves, and they learn how to complete themselves, because a lot of the women that I work with, you'll find that their partners are their better half, right? So their partners have been that person that completes them. They feel empty without them and nothing without them. So the biggest key that I can give to these women is to learn that completeness and wholeness comes from within. And then we're able to actually navigate. Because one of the things that I always tell my women is that you will allow a person to treat you one step lower than you treat yourself. And so, if you don't show up for yourself on a daily, if you don't believe in yourself on a daily, if you don't tell yourself how beautiful you are, how proud you are of yourself, if you don't acknowledge, you know what I'm saying, your own wins, you always need validation from outside sources.
Yeah.
That's going to show up in your relationships. So, the best key and the best tool that I give my women is to learn how to show up for themselves and trust themselves, and then that matriculates into their relationships, and from there you'll see that because they're so whole, that and they're so full, that now this fullness that they have of who they are is just an overflow in all relationships, friendships, and work partnerships, and businesses and communities, and it's beautiful and it's attractive.
I'm gonna say I love that, but I really, I really, 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 really wholeheartedly love that, and that's coming
Mhm.
from a place and space of someone who has suffered with low self-esteem my entire life.
Mhm.
So going through life with low self-esteem, I am an extrovert, I am a speaker, like I'm all of these things, but
Yeah.
really honestly within the last year, I didn't really realize how much I didn't have a voice. Like I
Mhm.
didn't know how to love myself, so I can't expect anyone to love me, and that's like you said, friend, um no matter who it is, child, no
Yeah.
matter what it is, I can't expect you to love me the way that I needed to be loved because I didn't know how to love myself.
Mhm.
So that was something that I had to work on. So I love that you're saying that that's a tool because it is a
Mhm.
tool. I don't think
Mhm.
that we as women fully really understand the power of loving yourself,
Yeah.
like knowing that.
Yeah.
So that's a tool. It is a tool.
Yeah. Cause you know, you gotta think about it. When you love yourself, you're able to set healthy boundaries. When you love yourself, you're able to say no. You know what I'm saying? And those are the things. But when we don't love ourselves, we show up as people pleasers and we're become the yes woman, right? You know, and it just shows up in so many unhealthy ways. And self-love says, hey, these are my boundaries. This is what I have the capacity for. These are my non-negotiables, and I don't care what anybody has to say about that. Imma stand firm on these you know, like, these are my values, these are my preferences, and that's okay.
And I'm no expert in relationships. I don't consider myself a relationship expert. And anybody said that they're a relationship expert, I think they're lying because you can't have an expert. You cannot be an expert or have a perfect relationship because there's no such thing. But what
Right.
I do believe, honestly, is when you show up as your true self, I can see
Mhm.
how that being a tool also helps a woman make a decision. Because
Mhm.
if you show up as your true self, and you say, this is who I am, this is who I'm becoming, and you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're being true to yourself,
Mhm.
not being or putting up a facade, but you can feel like you wake up that I'm happy when I wake up. I can look at myself in the mirror and stand firm in what I see and who I'm
Mhm.
looking at. When you know that you're standing in that truth, you don't care who or what. It really is like either you like it or you love it, or and if you
Right.
don't, then now thank you for letting me know. And that
Exactly.
I don't, because of my length of time with my relationship with my husband, some people do tend to come to me and ask, certain questions, and I've always said the response in who you are. So
Mm.
if I say I don't like this and you continue to do something, but I'm able to voice to you because that's where you don't even know sometimes what you don't like
Yeah.
until you tap into who you are. Because
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
realized also as I'm growing into myself, a lot of the things that I said that I didn't like wasn't so much I didn't like it was like I was brought up this way, or it wasn't, I didn't really have a reasoning of why I chose this or I didn't like
Yeah.
this. It was based on what I saw, as you stated, your parents and things like some of that can trickle onto you as an adult. So I didn't really
Mhm.
have, but now that I know who I am, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. I know what my
Yeah.
expectations are, and I can voice that
Mhm.
proudly with
Mhm.
strength. So that is, ah, that was
No, that was good. That was a good recap too. I'm like, yes, that's good.
when self love. I This is the plat. I'm so glad that you touched on that because this is what this platform is for, and I
Mhm.
realize that that is, God says above all is love. Above
Yeah.
all things is love. But I think it's a power when you love yourself that you just, like you said, like nothing, no
Yeah.
one, I don't care who it is.
Yeah. Can shake that. And Marcus Rozier, girl, the first time I heard him say it on the MMU call, I was like, oh, this good. But he was like, the best form of self-love or self-care is self-trust. And I was like,
Mm,
bruh, are you kidding me right now? Like that is
yes,
so good.
yes,
And that's the thing, is when we talk about trust, right? And we talk about self-trust, coming from infidelity, the reality is that women don't even trust themselves. And so that's why it's
right,
my job. My first job is to get them to learn how to trust themselves again. Because you have to think about where their psyche is.
right.
They've probably known that their partner was cheating and they saw signs, but they just didn't say anything. They kept quiet. Or all the times that they went to their partner and addressed their partner, and then he gaslit them and didn't tell them the truth, and they knew that he was lying, right? But they still didn't say anything. Or maybe this isn't the first occurrence that has happened. This is the second or third time. And the first time they said, or you know how we are, oh baby,
Hmm.
if a man cheat on me, I'm gone. You get in a relationship for 6 whole years, and then your man cheat on you. What you doing? 3 months later, you still with him. And you
Right.
tell him, if you do it again, I'm doing XYZ. Well, then he does it again. And you don't do XYZ. So all of these different experiences that you have said that you were going to do, but you did not keep your word. That is disappointing yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so what women don't realize is that you going around talking about it's hard to trust people. It ain't no good men out here who value fidelity. It ain't no good men out here. All men cheat. Baby, you don't even know how to trust yourself. So how
Yeah.
can you go and attract something in someone else when you don't even have it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Hmm.
don't have the trust within you. So how can you desire and expect somebody else to be fully transparent and fully trustworthy to you, and you don't show up like you don't show up like that for
Right.
yourself. And so that's the first thing that I think that we can give anybody. And you're right. That's why I believe that it is a tool.
It is. I was.
Mhm.
And you said it's not non-conventional, which it wasn't. I wasn't expecting that, but it is. And I'm speaking from a place of knowing now that I speak up more for myself. And not
Mhm.
just in my marriage, not just in with my parents, with my children, with my friends, people that I don't know, because I'm naturally non-confrontational. So that's also,
Yeah.
women that are naturally non-confrontational, you mentioned, you may see something and you may ignore it and things like that. So naturally, as a non-confrontational person, I'm used to not speak up, but now having that power. So to anyone that may not feel your voice should be heard, work on speaking up, practice speaking
Mhm.
up. Even if you just speak up to yourself and in your mirror and you remind yourself that it is you that is going to advocate for yourself, only
Yeah.
you. So
Mhm.
it's your right and your duty to make sure that
Mhm.
you are protecting yourself.
Mhm.
Um, so I do want to, that we were talked about women that may make the decision to stay, and I know that you support both sides. So I know that women that have lost their marriages,
Mhm.
I'm just now again, I'm on this whole new journey. God has like made me see life on a whole nother place. So
Uh-huh.
now I look at marriage totally differently.
Mhm.
I understand when women have to leave. Now I do understand that grieving process. I understand that pain. I get it now. So how do you support women in that space? Because I know even to get to a place where you're now having to make the difficult decision, I have to leave this. Somebody may have children, I know it's hard when you have children. I know it's difficult to make that decision when you may not be a breadwinner and the other person is a sole provider. Some of those are reasons why some people stay, but for that woman that said, "Okay, I'm gone," how do you support in that
Yeah, so the first step, I call it the pity party.
way?
And it's you give yourself whatever amount of time you want to give yourself to have pity on yourself. It can be 2 hours, it can be 2 days or 2 weeks, because what you have found is that a lot of women feel like they have to have this strong woman trope, right? And
Yeah.
so they haven't truly allowed themselves to feel all of the emotions. And so I give them the space to feel that. And I want them to be intentional about feeling that. What are you feeling? I'm feeling hopelessness. I'm feeling sadness. I'm feeling insecurity. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling doubt. I'm feeling confusion. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these emotions, I want you to surface those up, because once you surface those up, then we can acknowledge them. And then once we acknowledge them, then we can work on accepting them. And then once we can accept them, then we can work on moving through it. And so the first step that I always tell people, baby, we finna cry. And it's funny. I always tell my clients, if you don't believe in crying, you the wrong one for me. Because we gonna cry. Because
Hmm.
my coach told me that crying is the strongest form of allowing your body to acknowledge what it's feeling, and actually holding those tears in is a sign of weakness. And
Mm,
so we're going to give you this space to let that out, because what people don't understand is that when they're holding in all of
yeah.
that, all of those words and those emotions that I just mentioned, it's like an incubator in your spirit, right? And you're holding on to it like a pregnancy. And
Yes.
some people have been holding on to this anger and this shame and this doubt and this hurt and this confusion for 22 years, right? And so my job is to help you release all of that and birth all of that, so that now I can refuel you with what? Fruits of the spirit: love, joy, patience, kindness. You know what I'm saying? And that is my job, and that is their job, is to feel it. So I would say that's the first step.
I'm not gonna say I love it. I'm gonna try to think of something.
You can say it. You can say it.
Oh my gosh, I mean, like I said, when I first heard your brand on the call, it's certain things where it's like we need that. You didn't know
Uh-huh.
that you needed something until it's like we need that. And to be in a space of there's so many coaches. You have the entrepreneur coach, you even
Mhm.
have coaches for divorce, you have divorce coaches, you
Yeah.
have, marital coaches. But I think for you to have like that specific,
Mhm.
to help women navigate that, because so many women have dealt with that. And to the point of whether you stay, whether you leave, I cannot imagine as a woman having to endure that and not having a you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
having to go through that and not have a you. Because I know having a you will help women not go to social media and put their business all out.
Mhm.
Put
Mhm.
their hurt and pain all out on social media. Not having a you. Well, also, because when children are involved, it is
Yeah.
important. It is extremely important. I understand how our emotions can get the
Yeah.
best of us. But
Mhm.
when kids are involved, that's a whole nother entity where we have to start really thinking about how, like I said earlier, how we're showing up for the children, because we're setting the example. So, when you are dealing with um infidelity in a way in a marriage, I can understand from a woman's perspective, the angry, the hate and all of that, but not having a place where you can have your pity party in a
Mhm.
safe place where it's a pity party, where you are going to give them that room where they have to feel where they feel, and you're
Yeah.
acknowledging and
And you know what? Okay, I'll say it. Like, what I love about me is I come from a space of realness. And
yeah.
so, I've had clients where they're like, I just want to be petty right now and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And they'll look at me and be like, are you serious? I'm like, sure, you deserve it.
Mhm.
Like, like,
Mhm.
because here's the thing. I acknowledge that we're all human. And my job isn't to make you have this perception or this persona that, you're Saint Mary. And so I'm like, I welcome because every once in a while, that's the reality. Sometimes we get a petty thought and we want to act on that thought. But I'll say that what that does though to with me in the relationship with my clients is that it creates this type of connection to
Mhm.
where they don't have any shame with telling me anything. I was just talking to a cousin yesterday, and I was telling her, I was like, you don't understand the work that I do. I got so many secrets in me, that other
Right.
people have told me, but it's crazy because my clients have told me things that they have never told. I had a client text me like in the middle of the night, like 10 o'clock at night, and she was like, hey, are you free to talk? And I'm like, okay, boundaries, Brianna. No, we
Mhm.
can't talk. So I called her the next day and I was like, hey, what's up, love? And she was like, I just want to tell you this because I'm starting my healing journey with you. And I just want to make sure that I'm on the right foot. And I've never told anybody this, but I just want to confess this to you. I don't even know why I got the feeling, but it's because I have created these safe spaces. And I think that when we create this facade of like, this is what healing
Mhm.
looks like, I love your brand, my imperfect, I'm sorry, I'm going to mess it up. My
Perfect.
imperfect imperfections,
Mhm.
right? Perfect imperfections, we're all imperfect. And so I
Right.
welcome, like now, if it's something that's a little too far off, I'm gonna reel it back in. But there are moments where our clients want to be human, and it's okay to let them express that human side. So yeah.
Good. That's good. That's good because I'm like, well, I'm thinking on one side, but it's good that you again, that's why you're the expert. You in this space, you know the needs of your clients and what that looks like for someone that is going through um that healing process, so you're giving them the place and the space, but as again still I'm sure that like you said, having that piece where you're able to be that balance, so we can be
Hmm.
petty, but I'm not
Uh-huh.
going to let you be petty to the detriment of whatever
Right.
that may be. So
Yeah.
listen, I really think, first of all, if you're not in the morning meetup, I just want to say, like, what are you doing
Yes.
at this
Like
point?
ASAP.
What are you doing at this point? Because you have people like Brianna, you've met so many wonderful people on my podcast, but I mean, just knowing or learning or meeting someone that thought enough to take their pain, their hurt,
Mhm.
and open up a community and a space to help you navigate through that. I know so many women that I'm pretty sure, without a shadow of a doubt, wish that they had a you
Mhm.
during that time of what they were going through. Um, so, how can someone connect with you, tap in with you? How can someone work with you? Because I know we're going to get a whole lot of people. I need Brianna.
Yes, yes. So you can connect with me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Life After Infidelity. You can also go to my website, lifeafterinfidelity.net. I do have a free 15-minute coaching consultations. So if you go to the website, you'll see it on the right-hand corner at the top. You can click on free consultation and we can get started there. I also have a free ebook, so you can also download the free ebook. It's about creating healthy boundaries. And then also, if maybe you're not ready for coaching and you're still just trying to figure out how to navigate it, you can always purchase the new book. I'm so excited that it's here. It's 49 days. It's a 49-day devotional. So each day has things for you to go through and then to reflect on. So it's meant for you to just take it one day at a time. And I love it because day one talks about time doesn't dictate healing. So really learning how to navigate that. So those are some of the ways. And then you can tap into my podcast, Life After Infidelity, where you can hear other stories of women who have navigated the turmoils of infidelity, and some who have stayed and some who have moved on.
So I want to just personally say to you, Brianna, thank you for what you do. Thank you for allowing God to use you.
Thank
As I
you.
stated before, I know that during the during the storm, I definitely cannot even
Mhm.
imagine the pain that you were enduring. But I
Yeah,
thank you that you were obedient, because what you're going to do is you're really going to help a lot of women. You're going to free
yeah.
a lot of women. So to your dream, God was showing you what was destined for you, and now you're walking in your purpose. And we appreciate that. So I say thank you on behalf of your old clients, your current clients, and your new clients to come, because what you're doing um, is really phenomenal. So thank you. Thank
Aw,
you
thank
again. Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
using
so
your
much.
thank you for using your
Yes.
purpose and walking in it and being obedient. As David tells us all the time, someone out there is needing us, and if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, they're missing out. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna say too, I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to get my shirt, girl, at Podcast Summit. Because when you were like,
thank
I'm
you.
a vendor, I was like, come on now.
We are definitely, working on building this brand and growing and getting this message out. Because my motto, I say all the time, if we can do it, anybody can do
Yeah.
it. So I am like, you know what? I'm gonna not stop. We're gonna keep going, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep being obedient, because I'm learning and having these conversations, to David says it all the time. David is our mentor, but he says it all the time. He uses his podcast as a free coaching opportunity. So I use my podcast as a free like learning opportunity as well, because I'm learning about so many different brands. I'm learning about
Mhm.
so many different opportunities, but definitely even just different mindset and ways to look at different things, and using my platform to help anyone, because
Yeah.
success, we are building our brand from an entrepreneur space, but success could be in your marriage, in your
Mhm.
finances, with your
Mhm.
family. So, your purpose can be again in any place.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I open my platform to have these conversations, to make sure that we help someone and free them so they can have peace. Because it's
Yeah.
nothing like, oh my God, that peace.
It's not, is it? It's nothing like
It
peace.
is
Look, girl,
nothing like peace. To God, I say it all the time, to God be the glory. So I just want to listen, I told you from the beginning to go ahead and just like this episode, because I knew you were going to love it. So I hope you already did that, but I know that you're going to love it. Make sure that you tap in with Brianna and her brand. Share this, because I know that there's someone out there that needs this information, that needs this conversation, and they just need to know that it's okay. Whatever they choose, it is okay. They don't have to do it alone. We have people and places to support them. So if you are a woman that is currently dealing with an infidelity, you don't have to do it alone. My sis here, Brianna, has a brand and a platform and a purpose to help you navigate it with her hand in yours. So you don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be hurt. She's going to give you the love. She's going to give you the resources and the information that you need. So make sure that you tap in with her. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this episode. This is Perfect Imperfections. We are all perfectly imperfect. And that is the way that God made us. So make sure that you tap into the next episode. And again, until next time, thank you for being here. Peace.